From Hollywood, the dating capital of the world, in color, it's The Dating Game. And here's the star of our show and your host, Jim Lang.
Thank you very much. Thank you all, and good afternoon, and welcome once again to The Dating Game, and welcome to October. Our 10th month has considerable to offer in the way of sensational scenery out in the east. Of course, Indian summer here on the west coast has a rather wayward spirit, too, as described in these four lines. There's something in October sets the gypsy blood astir.
The history of reality dating TV began with The Dating Game, which premiered in 1965. It has evolved into a widely watched industry in which viewers have the opportunity to witness couples meet and date, but also battle temptation and betrayal, as audiences are given 24-hour coverage of the contestants' lives. From series like The Bachelor to Love Island, Hollywood feeds us a formula to finding love through the screen using dominant narratives and story structures. Due to its conventional nature, spectators have become addicted and uncritical of its content and morality, because it's perceived as mainstream entertainment. Reality dating television has proven itself not to be about developing relationships, but rather to be a profit machine. Most importantly, it has transformed over the years to become a tool used to perpetuate norms of whiteness as the beauty standard and to reinforce gender role stereotypes. Through casting choice, narrative framing, beauty standards, and relationship dynamics, problematic dominant ideology is reiterated into our entertainment and our perception of romance through media. Reality dating shows tend to cast predominantly white contestants, which upholds the idea that white beauty is the standard of attractiveness. In the first season of Too Hot to Handle, there were only 3 black contestants, and in the second season there were only 2. So while hiring a geographically diverse cast in terms of variety of accents and origins, they are extremely lacking with respect to race. Additionally, from 2002, when the first season of The Bachelor came out, all bachelors were white until 2021, when they had their first black lead, Matt James. It also wasn't until 2017 that Bachelorette casted their first black woman lead, named Rachel Lindsay. She states in a 2021 interview with The Vulture, "I had a squeaky clean record. I had to be a good black girl, an exceptional black girl. I had to be someone the viewer could accept. To the franchise, I am no longer a figurehead. I am no longer a spot filler. I am no longer the face of what is diverse." The tokenization of black men and women has a heavy impact on the mental health of the cast members within the set and beyond.
I think with a show like The Bachelor, if you look at the demographic of people, black women don't really stand a chance in that setting unless they pick specific Bachelor leads who you can tell are interested or have a history of dating black women or a history of dating women outside of just their own race, which a lot of times, to be honest, they don't.
This form of diversity is often referred to as plastic representation, a term coined by Kristen Warner 2017. The term serves as a way to describe the manner in which film industries make symbolic efforts to be inclusive of underrepresented groups, trying to give the appearance of equitable treatment, but in reality signify diversity through erasing cultural specificity. By addressing diversity solely through a quantitative lens, they ignore the need for depth and by consequence are left with a lack of quality representation. This absence of dimensional thinking also contributes to why representational intersectionality in this show is so fundamental. Without acknowledging these factors, it's impossible to see how blackness and femininity are interwoven to influence how members are treated. These intersectional approaches accommodate for the multidimensionality of lived experiences on Set Crenshaw, 2012. Black women are treated inherently different from the black men. Recognizing this distinction allows for a more exact identification of the problem areas that are seen on screen. It's important to note that the vast majority of contestants are white or mixed, but with predominantly white features. By consistently featuring whiteness as the main focus, these shows subtly imply that white individuals are more desirable in romantic contexts. Sung Yeon Park says that a systematic analysis of reality dating shows revealed that whites were overrepresented, whereas Hispanics and Asians were severely underrepresented. This is because Hollywood-based reality dating shows often do casting and writing, as if employing colorblindness. The programs avoid discussions about race as a way to deny the possibility of racial targeting within the show. People of color on set don't discuss their experiences of being mistreated with each other because they are recorded from every angle. Not only is there inherent prejudice within the show production, but also outside of the show context with online harassment and hate towards cast members.
The comments that I got right away off the show was about my hair and my choice of being natural.
Texturism, colorism, and featureism are elements of racism that are completely neglected and disregarded on set, which by effect encourages and enables further bigoted behavior in real-life dating environments. The editing and narrative framing of these shows are intended to highlight certain behaviors or characteristics that align with traditional gender roles. For instance, women are generally portrayed as overly emotional or in need of male protection, while men are depicted as assertive decision-makers. These illustrations can reinforce outdated stereotypes about domesticity and how men and women should behave in relationships. The interactions and conflicts among contestants are purposefully exaggerated or manipulated by producers to fit into predetermined narratives. Conflicts between contestants of different racial backgrounds may be sensationalized to create drama and perpetuate stereotypes about race and relationships, pushing tropes like the angry black woman. Contestants on reality dating shows are consistently expected to conform to specific beauty standards, using disciplinary practices which typically favor white features such as fair skin, straight hair, European facial composition, and certain body types catering to the male gaze. This includes plastic surgery, extensions, lip filler, and fake tanner that make contestants racially ambiguous while still remaining white. This perpetuates the notion that white beauty is the ideal standard of attractiveness, marginalizing individuals who do not fit into this narrow definition. Even in shows like Love is Blind, where couples are separated by a wall, the conversations between contestants typically lead to descriptions of each other's facial features, race, and body type.
I just have to be attracted to you. I kind of lean towards more like petite. My favorite attribute is like lips, but that's something I need to know.
Regardless of the emotional connection.
Regardless of the emotional.
Women are expected to perform through their position of femininity. They force smiles, they walk with grace, they maintain a straight posture, they style and groom themselves with respect to the feminine aesthetic, and they ornament themselves with clothing and jewelry that highlight their bodies and petite frames. All in the name of regulating the space that women's bodies take up.
When I come off the show, I got a lot of abuse for being like overweight and fat. I was a size 10, and all the girls in there they were all beautiful, but they were smaller than me. They were like size 6, size 8. But I'd come off the show, and there was a family in the airport, and it was actually the father of the family, and he started shouting abuse at me, saying, "You've been chucked off the show because you've got too many stretch marks."
Women on these shows are rarely shown eating food, but are constantly portrayed with champagne and various forms of alcohol. This depiction, in combination with their lack of plus-size participants, not only contributes to unhealthy body standards, but also directly promotes disorderly eating. In terms of the model of masculinity, men are expected to perform according to the collective ideals of manhood. This particular form of hegemonic masculinity is defined by their proximity to whiteness, their financial success, their youth, their hyper-masculine lifestyle, and their inherent attraction to women. This is depicted through their conversations about women, and how they present themselves physically. The set design is also a reflection of gender divisions, particularly with the decorations and props placed in women's rooms in comparison to men's. In Love is Blind, the women's room consistently had pink blankets through all seasons while the men's had blue, green or red. While this point is small in comparison to explicit or outright sexism, these covert details are an effort to instill traditional notions about what women should be drawn to. According to Laura Mulvey, the mirror stage in film and television provides an idealized mirror image on screen through which the audience can identify or envision themselves. By looking at their exhibitionist self, they internalize the character and qualities they consume. This essentially means that the portrayal of women in the show, both as how they present themselves individually and also in relation to the men, will inevitably send subliminal messages about how spectators understand gender and the roles or norms attached to them. Not only is heteronormativity presented as the sole identity for contestants, but also more conservative and traditional ideals regarding early marriages, slut-shaming, and the contradictions for men and women regarding fidelity. Single women on these shows are described as vulnerable, while the men are described as free and independent. In The Bachelor, according to Goodman, the romantic fantasy of the lead is founded on pressuring women to disclose their true feelings, appear rather than act, and suppress their sexual autonomy. This unequal balance of vulnerability between the women and the man creates a power dynamic where women are begging for attention or acceptance, and the bachelor is free to graze through the contestants uncommitted. The women are there to spill their hearts out, not only about their feelings for the lead, but about their past trauma, which serves as an emotional offering that would render them deserving of a rose. The Bachelor, on the other hand, provides no such reciprocation, forcing these women to sell themselves completely, just to inevitably get rejected in the end. Ultimately, reality dating TV has played a key role in perpetuating stereotypes and standards of white beauty and gender roles through casting choices, narrative framing, beauty standards, and manipulated interactions among contestants. It is essential to critically analyze the messages conveyed by these shows and consider the impact they have on shaping societal perceptions of beauty and gender norms. Just as Judith Butler describes gender as a phenomenon that is produced and reproduced all the time, so is race and our collective perception of love. It's clear that reality dating television is in dire need of modernization to adapt to our current social climate, and until that day, the industry will continue to produce harmful rhetoric towards racial minorities and women.